Hello, I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Center on Transition Innovations. My name is Janet Lung, and I'm the Director of Child and Family Services at the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. And my topic today is community resources for young people who are in transition from youth to adulthood. Generally speaking, that's young people ages 16 through 25. In my role at the Department of Behavioral Health as the office director, I oversee the agency's work with community services and hospital services for children generally through about age 17. And then I also coordinate the work with other offices within the department to help young people transition into adult services. My job also involves developing policy and legislative recommendations, funding initiatives, and other activities that support the services that the department has in their strategic plan for children's behavioral health services. When we say behavioral health services, we include in those mental health services and substance abuse services, and also children or adults who may have both of those problems. So we try to be very inclusive, and when we say behavioral health services, that's what we mean. Our department also serves individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including children in those disability areas. So those are the three areas that we're responsible for. A lot of our work involves collaborating with the other agencies that serve children and those that provide services. That would be the Department of Education, Social Services, Juvenile Justice, Health, and the Office of Comprehensive Services. All of those departments have some bearing on the services that are available for youth. I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the services that CSBs provide. There are 40 community services boards in Virginia, and one is responsible for the services in each city and county. That would be for all age groups. Each of those 40 community services boards will have some type of specialized service programming for children and youth, and it kind of varies from one CSB to the next and what their capacity is for services. But the slide that we have gives some examples of the types of services that CSBs have. They serve, obviously, children with mental health problems. They may also reach out to adolescents who have substance abuse problems. They serve also the intellectually disabled population and those with autism. Some CSBs participate in individual education plans when involved by parents or youth. And they also facilitate services under the Comprehensive Services Act. Comprehensive Services is a program that's unique to Virginia. Some states have something similar. But in Virginia, it is a program that is in the Code of Virginia, and it allows for specialized services for children who meet certain criteria, and the funding for those services is pooled from the different agencies like social services and ours and education, and it really its intent is to try to meet the multiple needs that youth have rather than just their educational needs or just their social services needs and that sort of thing. Our CSBs also provide a lot of services outside the CSBs. We have clinicians who work in the juvenile detention centers, providing mental health and substance abuse services there. They reach out to the families of those youth. They try to follow them after they're released from detention or a correctional program. They also reach out and work a lot with youth who are in residential treatment programs, trying to help shorten the length of the residential treatment stay and increase the likelihood of them returning home in a smooth way to their families or foster families. CSBs also connect with programs like Project Search and other programs that focus on employment or housing, independent living, and other types of needs that young adults may have. The CSBs are currently developing some new services just specifically to focus on the transition age population. That has been an area of some gaps And so there will be some new pilot programs coming out that will focus specifically on the age 16 through 25 group. Wanted to talk a little bit about how young people in the transition age or any other people can access CSB services. In the case of those under 18, parents can contact the CSB for an intake appointment, and even those over 14 can seek their own services independent of a parent. When that happens, though, often the Community Services Board will try to involve the parent. They would never want to discourage a young person from seeking services on their own, but if they're under 14 or around that age, they would try to engage the parent in that mental health treatment or substance abuse treatment. Over 18, that population raises some additional questions, I think, for service providers and parents. If you think about it, someone who turns 18 is, in the eyes of the law, an adult, though all of us know that adulthood is probably not fully formed by the age of 18. And recent research has shown that really age 25 is a much more likely age at which most people have reached their full maturity. Research shows that the brain is still soft and forming in those adolescent years, that it's not really fully developed, and therefore the young person is not fully mature until the age of 25. So you can see some of the complexities that present themselves for youth who turn 18 and for their parents. Suddenly they're an adult. Maybe suddenly they also have left home for the work of world or college, community college, and they are legally an adult. But as we know, they still need a lot of support. They still need the support of their parents, but it's a different type of support. Should they have a legal problem or any other problem involving that age of 18, they can kind of be on their own. And so it creates a whole new role for parents to get involved in. Some of the programs that community services boards will develop will offer education for parents, how your parenting should change when your child turns 18, and information for young people, how your relationship with your parents and your home will change after you turn 18, how to seek help, who to involve, how to reach out for help after you turn 18. Those are all things for which there really is no rule book, and perhaps there needs to be. So we've begun to focus more on that as we look at the psychological development of young people ranging from 16 through 25. So it's an important and new area for our department, and will also be for our community services boards. Very challenging time. When there is an emergency, our community services boards are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide emergency services. Every city and county has those services. On the slide, I've provided a link where one could go and locate on our website the community services board that is appropriate for your city and county, and also the emergency services 24/7 number for that community services board will be listed there. As I said, those services are available every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. There will be a clinician who would respond to that call. They provide a service they call pre-screening, which means they're able to screen a person to see whether their mental health or substance abuse need may be so great that they would need hospitalization for a period of time. That's one of the services that they provide. Finally, another area that we provide on the website here and provide contact information for is the Virginia Family Network. They are a network of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. Their contact number is provided here on the slides, and they make family support and education services available to anyone who calls. They provide support groups, both for adults and for young people, and recently have been developing some special support groups just for the 18 through 25 age group. So I strongly encourage taking a look at those opportunities for young people. So when we talk about are there 3 tips that would be offered for special educators, these are the 3 that I would offer. First of all, if you think a student will need some support as they transition from high school, act as early as possible and also involve parents. Don't wait until it's an emergency. If you can identify that early, that will be extremely helpful. The second tip that I would suggest is providing school counseling that would include information about the transition to adulthood. Some typical topics for that might be how to make the transition from your parents' home to a college dorm, what might you expect there, what are independent living opportunities as you make the transition from home to young adulthood? What kind of housing arrangements are available? And finally, what employment opportunities might be available if you're not making the transition from home to community college or university. Other information that special educators might want to provide is information about the community agencies that young people might need, such as the CSB, local vocational rehabilitation services, community and college counseling services. And finally, the last and really more broad tip would be aware that students with disabilities may have greater difficulty than the average student in making the transition to adult life, and do accommodate for this. Everyone will have some difficulty, and that time of life will be a challenge, but that student with a difficulty, with a disability, may need a little more assistance and support. And thank you very much for hearing my comments today.